Okay, so in this video I'm just going to show you some photos that I took of burrowing owls in Florida and the locations that I took the photos in, just to give you an idea of what to expect if you ever find yourself in that part of the world and want to give it a go for yourself. The first location I'm only going to talk about briefly, and that's here, Cape Coral on the west coast of Florida. Now the reason I'm only going to mention it briefly is we just spent one morning here driving around looking for the owls and that was it. It's probably the most popular location for them in the Sunshine State, and the nests are dotted around all over the city. Here you can see we're on a housing estate, which is where the majority of them seem to be. Unfortunately, most of the owls we did see in this location seemed to like staying hidden from view, so we didn't get too many clear shots of them. Another obstacle that you're faced with is a lot of the nests are actually on private property, including people's front gardens at times. So there's a lot of signs around telling you to keep off the land and to warn you that the sites are protected. And that's fair enough, to be honest, because at the end of the day, although you want some nice images, the well-being of the owls is the most important thing, and you don't want to cause them too much stress while you're taking your pictures. And the big downside to that, as you can see, is you can't always position yourself with the sun in the right place, but unfortunately you just have to deal with that and do the best you can. I could definitely see the potential if I'd had more time here, but on the other hand it was also a bit strange driving around pointing this huge camera out the window on housing estates. So I'm going to move on now and show you the second location where I had more luck. And that's here at Piccolo Park in Broward County. I actually shot at the park on two separate occasions, and both times, as you can see, the weather was pretty overcast and it was quite windy as well. That did actually work to my advantage though. I mean, it's still pretty hot out. This is Florida after all, so the wind helped keep me cool, and the overcast light was good for getting feather detail. Had it been really clear and sunny, the light would have been quite harsh and contrasty, so it did actually work to my advantage, even though at first glance you'd think it may not have. I have to admit though, I really didn't know what to expect from this park. It's just a typical recreational park. People go there to play sports and have picnics and hang out. And had I not been told the owls were here, I definitely wouldn't have known to stop off and look around, because it's really not the sort of place you'd expect to find them. But once I'd driven around the park and seen a few nests, I pulled over and got my gear together, my 200-400 VR and my D3, used a 1.4 teleconverter, and I had a D300 as backup. I set my gear up and set off around the park to see what photos I could capture. And the great thing about shooting at the park is demonstrated here by the guy mowing the lawn. I mean, his lawnmower was pretty noisy, and at one point he got quite close to the owls, but that just didn't seem to faze them at all. I mean, you can see he's had to cut round the nest at some stage, but that's the great thing about the owls here. They're so used to people that as long as you respect the golden rule of wildlife photography, which is not to get too close to your subject, you can still get within a distance that allows you to get some really nice shots. The only time the owls ever really did seem to be concerned or worried was whenever a bird flew overhead. You can see this owl here in particular. A bird's just flown over and made a noise, and so he's keeping an eye out. I think the main risk really in the park is that from other predators, but certainly from my presence and the presence of other people walking around in the park, they never seem to be concerned at all. And just to give you another demonstration of just how close you can get to these owls, this particular one here had built its nest between the road and the pathway, so it really is possible to get close to them without even having to make any effort at all. I found one of the better areas to shoot to be a nest just next to one of the car parks. There was quite a bit of activity here, and I'd say most of my good photos came from this location. And at one point there were 3 owls hanging around, as you can see here. I believe it was 2 adults and a baby, although I'm not entirely sure. One image I really wanted to try and get was of an owl off the ground, because up until this point all of the ones I had were of them in the grass. So when I saw the one owl up on the post that we saw earlier, just by where the guy was mowing the lawn, I decided this was going to be my best opportunity. So I started quite far back, as you can see here, and slowly made my way towards the owl, taking shots every few feet or so just to get a few in the bag in case he jumped back down onto the floor. As I got closer, you can see here that the background had a few poles and posts on the road, which was a bit distracting, and it wasn't quite as clean as I would have liked. So as I got closer, I also started moving across to the side as well, and as you can see here, that started to get me the background I was after, but it was still a little bit blocky for my liking, and it wasn't quite as clean as I would have liked. So on my final move forward to get the owl the right size in the frame, I also adjusted the height of the tripod up slightly, which meant I was shooting into the background, which was just the grass behind the owl, and doing so resulted in the shot that I was after. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said at the start, if you ever find yourself in this part of the world, then definitely check out these guys for yourself because they're great fun to watch and photograph. And if you want to find out more information about the owls in Florida and the locations you can find them to photograph, or you just want to see some of the pictures from this video again, as well as some other ones, then head over to richardpeters.co.uk/blog and do a search for Burrowing Owls, and you'll be able to find the article that I wrote to accompany this video.